There comes a time in every build where you start to ask what kind of fans you're going to be putting into your case. It's especially important with water cooling because the fans that you put on your radiators will be driving the overall performance of your loop. Today I'm going to be testing some EK fans. I have the 120mm F4 ERs, and I have their brand new 140mm F3 ERs, and I'm going to be testing them against the Noctua NF-F12s and the Alpenfoehn Wing Boost 2s that I've been running in my computer case so far. Okay, the test has run for a full hour with my i7-4770K. It was clocked at 4.4 gigahertz during that test and being fed 1.32 volts to keep it stable during that test. As you can see, the temperature's maxed out in the 80s, almost in the 90s on one of the cores. This is okay for this kind of testing. When you're running a high overclock, you can get up into the 90s during stress testing. You just want to avoid 90 degrees Celsius so that the chip doesn't get damaged and it doesn't start throttling itself. The Noctua NF-F12s were running between 800 and 900 RPMs during this test, and the ambient temperature in the room was approximately 28 degrees Celsius. I'm going to now run the fans full speed and see what their performance is when they go all out. The test has completed for the fans spinning at full speed. The Noctua NF-F12s were spinning at 1200 RPMs for this test, and as you can see, there was some improvement. It's still hitting the 80s, but it was a few degrees lower than it was in the standard fan curve. While these are the maximum spikes in the temperatures during the test, it's important to note that most of the time they hovered around in the 70s for the test. Now we will switch over to the EK Vardar F4 ERs and run the tests with them. We just finished the test for the EK Vardar 120 F4 ERs, and we are using the standard fan curve, and as you can see, the results are really close to what we got with the fan curve on the Noctua NF-F12s when it was going full speed, even a little less as far as the maximums are concerned. It still hovered around in the 70s quite a bit, but the noise level was about the same as the Noctua NF-F12s on their standard fan curve. So we're already seeing vastly improved performance just switching to these fans. Now we will test them at full speed. The test has now finished with the Vardars going at full speed. As you can see, there's still one core that hit in the 80s, but the rest of them were in the 70s, and the average was in the mid to low 70s most of the test. It's not too much lower than it was with the standard fan curve, but it is still an improvement. I think it's safe to say that these fans crush the Noctuas. They are very loud when they're going at full speed, but it is a lower pitch than the Noctuas were at full speed. I'm now going to test the 140mm fans. It'll be my Alpenfoehns being tested against the Vardar 140 F3 ERs. We just completed the stress test with the Alpenfoehn 140mm Wing Boost 2 PWM fans using the standard fan curve. As you can see, the graphics cards maxed out at 58 degrees Celsius and 57 degrees Celsius respectively. We will now run the test using the full speed fan curve. We've now finished the test with the Alpenfoehns going at full speed. As you can see, they didn't improve too much by 1 degree. We will now switch to the EK Vardar 140mm F3 ERs, and see what they give us. We've completed the test with the EK Vardar 140mm F3 ERs, and as you can see, there is a marked improvement in performance of almost 10 degrees Celsius on each card. That was just with the standard fan curve. Now we'll see what we can get out of them when we push them to full speed. The test has now been completed with the 140mm Vardars running at full speed. As you can see, there was a little bit of improvement in the maximum temperatures. We did not even reach 50 degrees Celsius on the graphics cards. This is about a 10-degree improvement in both tests against the Alpenfoehn 140mm Wing Boost 2 fans. Now that you've seen the testing, I wanted to talk a little bit about how I perform the tests as well as talk about the fans themselves. For the setup of the tests, I put together standard fan curve and max fan curves on my Corsair Link Commander Mini, which is what I use to control my fans. It's not the most robust fan controller out there, admittedly, but it suits my needs, and it's very easy to hide inside the computer case without taking up a front bay cover. But I set up those fan curves for both the GPU and the CPU loops. And then for the 120mm test, I used X264 to put a load on my CPU for about an hour to see how the Noctua NF-F12s coped with that load. And then I turned around and did the same series of testing with the Vardars. For the GPU loop, I used the Metro Last Light benchmark to put a load on the GPUs for an hour, and went through that test with a standard fan curve and max fan curve on the Alpenfoehns, then turned around and did it again with the Vardars. I'm probably sure that most people would tell me that there's a ton of other tests I should have run that would have been more thorough or would have put more load on or this, that, or the other, but I just wanted to keep things simple. I just needed something to put a load on those components for about an hour and to just show how the fans would cope with that. For the fans themselves, the ERs stand for extended range on both fans, and what that means is they have an extended PWM range. They go all the way down to 25% PWM duty cycle, which allows them to spin at a lower RPM, which means that they can run a lot quieter at lower speeds than most other fans out there. They have a much greater range with that lower RPM all the way up to their max RPM, so they're more like a total package fan. A lot of people wrote off the ERs thinking that, oh, it's just, all black or all white fans, but that's not true. They're more of a total package performance fan because of the extended PWM duty cycle. Another thing I wanted to touch on is that I've actually sat on this footage since August when the 140mm first released, which is why you hear me during the testing talking about how warm it is in the household with that high ambient, because this was done back when it was much warmer weather than it is in winter right now. But the reason why I did that is because a week after the 140mm released, EK actually noticed that there was something wrong with the sound signatures on those fans, and so they issued a recall. And they told all their customers that if you ordered through our web store, we will refund you, no questions asked, and you can keep the old fans, or you can wait until we get the issue worked out and we'll send you brand new fans and we will let you keep the old ones. They didn't make anybody bother with an RMA at all. And with their retailers, they also tried to work with them to do the same thing. I know a lot of people on OCN said that they turned around and went the refund route with Performance PCs, and Performance PCs got them in-store credit immediately, and all they had to do was send them back, just like a normal return. Some people did go the exchange route, and what Performance PCs let them do is keep the old fans until the new stock comes in, and then they can RMA per normal. I like how these companies have really gone the extra mile to try and make it as easy for the customer as possible, and I really have to give props to EK and Performance PCs. I'm sure a lot of the other retailers took care of their customers in the same way. This is just the ones that I know about the most. And EK being the company that made the fans, I have to give a special shout out to, because I think that more companies should treat their customers this way. It's definitely great to see them step up and take action so well. That's really all I have for this video. So like it if you liked it, dislike it if you thought it was bad. Leave a comment below if you want to tell me what kind of fans you're running and why you run them. And hit us up on Twitter if you want to interact with us. Thank you for watching.